This is my Smart American Accent training. Welcome to our Saturday live question and answer class. Today's topic, we're going to be looking at words like eaten versus the phrase eat in versus the word eating. So we'll talk about what to watch out for here in terms of the sounds in these words and phrases, the rhythms, and what accent error patterns you might make. Please feel free to leave your questions or put your questions in the chat at any time. If you're watching this later on as a replay, you can use comments for questions, and I do return to those to give you answers. So looking at the word eaten, as in I've eaten that before, they've eaten fish every Friday for a month, etc. What we have is the typical American pronunciation here is similar to words like button or cotton or gotten. Sometimes when we have the suffix ten, we don't say a true T here. I don't say eaten. That would be more British. Eaten. In American English, eaten. So what we're doing there is we're doing an unreleased or stopped T sound where my tongue goes up to make the T, eat, and then I go right to what's called a syllabic N, eaten. So it sounds like E, and then you're not really hearing that T, not eat with a burst of air, but rather you hear the T because I stop the air as though I'm making a T. Eat, and then my tongue is there, ready to go right into the sound of the N. Eaten, eaten. So as I mentioned, we use that for lots of TTEN words or TEN words like gotten, cotton, button, etc. You can get more help for the stop T and syllabic N combination in my videos for those words, as well as in our Sounds of English course. I walk you through all of the different things that T can say in the middle, beginning, ends of words, sounds like syllabic N, all of the sounds of English, consonants and vowels to help you understand the patterns we have for pronunciation, as well as get a solid foundation to pronounce any word you like confidently and easily in American English. That's our Sounds of English course, and you can find it on our website, speechmodification.com. Okay, so eaten, eaten. Notice we have the syllabic N, and so we really want to feel here in the eat. In the dictionary, they're going to show the T. They might show a schwa, an sound between the T and the N, eaten, eaten. So eaten, eaten, eaten. You definitely don't need a strong vowel there. I would say it's probably easier to think of it this way, with the E sound, unreleased T, and the N sound, no other sound. So sometimes interpreting what you hear and what you see in the dictionary can be challenging. That's another reason that I like to cover and respell these words in a way that might make more sense to you as you're thinking about how to say it. Then we have a phrase, of the phrasal verb to eat in. So we might talk about eating out or eating in. Eating out meaning, of course, eating at a restaurant, eating in typically meaning eating at home, or a restaurant may also use the phrase eat in versus take out. So take out, to take out the food from the restaurant, they send it to go. If you're going to eat in, they're going to use this phrase. So when you hear eat in, it's a phrasal verb which means normally we stress the verb, like I'm going to eat. Eat would be the important word. But in a phrasal verb, we have a verb plus a preposition, and the preposition gets stressed because the meaning lies there. So if I'm going to eat out, out is important because it tells me the difference between eat out and eat in. So eat has a little bit of stress, but the primary stress in a phrasal verb comes on the phrase. So if we're going to eat in, here, I may make a pause and a break between them. So usually if a T ends a word and is followed by a vowel, for example, in a phrase like got it, we would link those together and flap the T, which is the same as how we do D's in the middle of words. So I got it, I gotta go, I got a friend, get it, get a book. We tend to flap that T. But here, because the stress is on in, it's going to have a bit of a break before it. So rather than using that flap T like we do in got it, we're going to say eat in. We're going to use the unreleased T on eat. So again, just like in eaten, we're going to not really say eat. I could say eat in, and I'll be understood, but it'll sound accented. It won't sound like how a native speaker would say that. So when I say eat in, my in is going to be stressed, and I have a little bit of a break there. Eat in. Do you want to eat in? Should we eat in tonight? So that's how you're going to hear the difference here, is that this is going to be stressed in the first part, eaten, eaten, and you're not going to hear any vowel before the n. And this one, eat in, you're going to clearly hear the I vowel. So you'll hear eat unreleased, and then the stress goes on the in part of the word or of the phrase, eat in. Should we eat in, or have you already eaten? So quite different in how they sound, but a little bit tricky. Then lastly, probably the most common thing that we use is the ing form of the verb, the present progressive. I'm eating, he's eating, etc. And here what you want to watch out for is that rather than having an N sound at the end, now we have the ng or NG sound at the end. So it's going to be stressed on the eat, first syllable, and eating, the T is between two vowels followed by an unstressed syllable. So here we're going to have the flap like we had in got it or getting, eating. It's going to sound like the same as D's sound in the middle of words. Not a strong D, not eating, but a light flap tap up, eating, eating. So we'll have our I and our ng sounds. So think of this one as eating with a nice light D. You can learn more about how to make the flap T and flap D in my videos for that here on the channel, as well as in our Sounds of English course, as I mentioned earlier. All of the different things that we do for T in the middle of words, beginning, end, linking, etc. You can learn all of those details in our videos for that and in our Sounds of English course. So eating, eat in, eaten. We've eaten. We'd like to eat in tonight. We're eating in tonight. So you can also say eating in. That's just a different form. If I'm saying eating in, then I'm going to stress on in. We're eating at 6 o'clock. Stress is going to be on eating or 6 o'clock, depending on the phrase. Okay, so this same patterning holds true for some other words. Let me mention a few here for you. So for example, I'm just looking up my list. Some other places where we would have the difference between eaten and eating, for example, would be words like shorten and shorting, although shorting is not a super common word. So in that case, you're going to watch out for what the primary word is. So shorten, again, flap, unreleased T and syllabic N. We also have beaten and beating. Some for the phrasal verb, we would have, for example, to back in. I'm going to back in. I'm going to back into the spot, or I'm backing that venture, similar to eat in and eating. We also have spelled with D, ridden. I've ridden a horse before, ridden. So there I have again ridden. I don't release that D, so it's not written. So written. The difference here is in ridden. I can say it with a true D, ridden, but I might use an unreleased D, ridden. That's where I'm going to do kind of rid, and then my syllabic N. And then for written, you're going to hear the unreleased T is shorter, written. So that's another useful pair of words I could go through. But then also ridden and ridding, like I'm ridding the house of bugs. Then you're going to hear the NG and a true D, ridding. So a lot of word pairs, a lot of details here, but when you learn the patterns, it can help you with not just the words we're talking about, but other words that end in other phrasal verbs or other words that end in TEN versus TING or DING, for example. Similarly with, there's an example with V. So for example, we might have proven versus proving. In proven, I'm not really doing a strong eh there, not proven, but rather proven. My V to N sound is very reduced for the vowel. So I have my stressed first syllable, proven. Here I'm going to have a little I or sound reduced, the syllabic N. And then proving, I'm going to have the clear vowel there but short, and the NG sound. So you can see how when you start to recognize patterns, en versus ing at the end, taken and taking, same thing happens there with K sound, or bacon and baking, different spelling but very similar sounds. All of these patterns can be useful in understanding what's happening in your speech. And for a lot of non-native speakers, you may not make a strong distinction between the n with the tongue lifted in the front and the ng with the tongue lifted in the back. And so when you're saying something like proving or baking, it might sound like proven or bacon. So you want to make sure that you learn about the n versus ng sounds, are able to pronounce the ng correctly, especially because we have so many words that end with ng. All of those progressive verbs, eating, proving, going, etc., as well as simple words like wing, spring, thing, etc., that just end with the ng sound. You want to make sure you can make a difference between something like thin and thing, or band and banged, etc. Okay, so I'll turn to your questions now. Thank you for being here. It's nice to see so many of you this morning. Feel free to put your questions in the chat. You can ask about pronunciation, fluent speaking, whatever will help you improve your overall English. If you're watching this later on as a replay, feel free to put your questions in the comments. I did start the original stream today and then didn't have audio, so I had to restart. So if you were I hope you weren't frustrated by finding this link. I will post it on the channel later so you can watch it as a replay as well. If you're watching this later on as a replay, you can also leave your questions in the comments. Okay, so we have a question about the word burglar. I do have a video for burglar, for burgle and burglar, so you can check that out after this, but let's go through it. Anytime we have two R's in a word, it can be challenging, and knowing also what the letters UR, ER, AR say. I like to think of the most basic sound as ER, but it could be spelled ER, IR, UR, etc. So this sound, can happen in a word like person. It's spelled with ER, but also bird, it's spelled with IR, burglar, it's spelled with UR, or turn, it's spelled with UR, early, it's spelled with EAR. So basically for the sound, it's just one sound, My tongue is in the tight back R position for American R, and I'm not gliding or moving. We have our other R diphthongs like air, ear, ire, or, etc., where the tongue is sliding and ending in that R position. But for the it's not moving. And for burglar, both of the sounds are just basic. It's not a or an R. No R diphthongs here, just the sound. So I would think of it as burglar. First syllable stress, second syllable unstressed. Same sound. This one is a little bit longer in duration. This one's a little bit shorter. Burglar. You may also find it difficult to do the Some people have a challenge with the L and R, words that have both L and R. So you might just want to work on that separately. In that case, you can build it from tight back tongue, then just lift the tongue, keep the back of the tongue tight, and lift the tongue for the L. Lur, and then add your G, glur. Or you can think of the G as going on this syllable, burglar. It does have to go quickly between the G and the L. You don't want burglar, just burglar. Yeah, okay, so yeah, definitely a difficult word, similar to burger, but adding the L in there. You can practice similar words, practice your and getting it strong, and then when you have to put it into a word twice, it should be easier after you've had an opportunity to do that. Okay, we have a question about bizarre versus bizarre. I feel like I've covered this for you before. Maybe I made a video for you, but let's go through it while we're at it. So basically bizarre and bizarre sound almost exactly identical. In both of them are stressed on the czar syllable. In bizarre, you'll see it in the dictionary with the I sound, like in it. So you could think about it's a bizarre, or it's not but it's bizarre. So this is the adjective. A bizarre, bizarre. And then for the noun bizarre, we have, this will be represented as a schwa, an sound, but it's also just the zar ending. So both have second syllable stress, bizarre and bizarre. However, because the I and the are so similar when they're unstressed, they're both reduced vowels, bizarre and bizarre, it's almost inaudible to hear the difference. Technically, one has the reduced I and the other has the reduced but they're both going to sound very similar, bizarre. So you'll hear somebody say, that's bizarre, and they'll be using a schwa. Or you'll say, I'm going to go to the bazaar. Maybe this one is always going to be schwa and this one is more flexible. But hopefully hearing me say those two and understanding that that's the small, subtle difference between them is helpful to you. So nice to see you back again here on the channel. Unless someone else, this has been requested before, so that may or may not have been you. So nice to have you, and thank you for that question. Okay, we have a question about how to pronounce Albany. So Albany. This is like the word all, Albany. We do have the name Al that has the black cat vowel. My pal Al. So sometimes AL is going to say like the vowel, like in gal, pal, the name Al, etc. But in Albany, it says the vowel, all, like in the word all, Albany. And then the letter A is going to be a schwa sound, so Albany, with all stressed. So that's the city in New York, Albany, New York. Maybe there's some other Albanys too. That's the one I know of that's a bigger city. Great. Okay. So thank you so much for being a part of class today. I apologize for the change in time and the initial video having to restart. I'll post this video on the channel page so you can check it out later, and we'll be back again next week. We may also have an earlier time next Saturday. I'll also have a new video for you coming out Tuesday, and you should be able to check that out Tuesday morning. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Thanks so much for your comments and questions and being a part of class today. I look forward to seeing you next week and also next Tuesday. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming.